Hi, Abby. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so I found you in, I was going to say a unique way, but it's not really unique anymore. So I was on Instagram
Mhm.
and the whatever. When you're looking and you're following certain pages over and over again. So I started just following more people and more pages that had something to do with children who have disabilities or special needs or anything like that. And you kept popping up, and I was loving what you were sharing. You were sharing helpful information, tips. Like, I didn't even know grants existed. Like, just so many great things. So I started following you. And the really interesting part, and I don't think I ever told you this, but so I'm following you. I run a Facebook group called Renna's Corner, and I share different products and different resources and just things that are helpful for families like mine.
Mhm.
And I started sharing about you in that page, and I told my one friend about you. And next thing I know, she has a call set up with you. So my friend actually went through this process that I think we're going to talk a little bit more about before I ever did.
Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
I don't know. Some people you follow on Instagram and you know they're real and you know that this person is there to bring value and help versus, I don't know that I trust that person. So
Mhm.
I love what you're doing, and I would love for you to share a little bit more about what you do, and we can kind of just, go off of that and have a few more
Yeah.
questions. I definitely have a few
Yeah,
more questions.
for sure. Yeah. So my real name is Abby Zacharitz. I'm known as Advocacy Abby in the internet world. Started Advocacy Abby as a labor of love. I have five kids, and my fourth son, after an accident, was diagnosed secondary cerebral palsy. His quadriplegic, spastic, nonverbal, non-ambulatory. And there were things I wanted for my son that insurance just said no. Like we don't do that. It's not FDA approved, or it's not necessary, or it's luxury. And my husband and I decided very early on in his journey that money wasn't going to be the thing that kept us from getting him whatever treatment, equipment, therapy, whatever he needed to have a better life. And so we started first heard from a grant from a girlfriend of mine. She told me, oh, you should apply for this grant. It's called Live Like Jake Foundation. It was for kids like my son that had survived a near drowning. And so I applied for it, and she covered an entire intensive for us, and I was like just floored. And that when I realized there were foundations like that out there, that was all I needed. It was like giving a carrot to, a dog in a race. Like I just started running, and I found more and I found more. And then parents on Instagram and Facebook would reach out to me, be like, hey, or friends of friends, usually friends of friends would say, hey, my neighbor's kid went through that, or my other kid has this. Do you think you could help us find grants like you did? Because they knew at the time my husband was a church plant pastor and I was a stay-at-home mom. People local to us knew we didn't have all these resources to do these things. How are we doing this? And so I, of course, said, yeah, sure, go here, do this, go to this. And then I started doing that on, like, I was getting messages daily, people starting to reach out. And then I realized, like, hey, maybe I should share these grants online. And I was, to be completely transparent, I was kind of nervous at the beginning. I'm like, what if I have no grants? And for myself, like for my
Yeah,
son.
yeah,
And then,
that's what I would think too,
yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, you know what? God has provided time and time again. And if God wants me to share these things with other people, he'll provide more. And that's exactly what he's done. And so I just started sharing. And I was like, I don't even know if people need this stuff. Maybe it's just me. And people went gangbusters. They were like, oh my gosh, like therapists and doctors and families started following, and hundreds, at a time would follow the page. And it just went from, I had like 1,000 followers, and now I've about 14,000, just short of 14,000. So people needed it and wanted it. And really just started, that's what started my journey was, my son started working with organizations that wanted me to help them find grants for their product and I only work just to be transparent. I work with brands that I believe in.
Mhm.
So when I was just Advocacy Abby by myself, like I would be very particular if I was going to work with a company, but there's so many good things out there that are just, trying to get through the process of getting approved with insurance and stuff. And it's just a long process, and we don't have time to wait. As parents, we don't always have time to wait. And so, started working with companies and helping more and more families find funding, and eventually met Support Now, the founder, Jordan Arrighetti. She's the co-founder with her husband, Scott, and they showed me what they were doing, which they had this amazing support page, right? Kind of like as if GoFundMe, Caring Bridge, Facebook groups, and Meal Train had a baby, but the baby's way better than the parent.
Right.
And so, like, what really appealed to me, and this is just my world of with being in money, trying to always find things for families, was the families kept more money than any other platform. To me, that was enough. Now, the rest was all perks. They provided support in a holistic way. You can choose to have a page just with money or just with meals or just for journaling, like to share what's going on with your family, or you could choose it all. And so, like when we were in the PICU for 52 days, I had people um, coming to visit and stay overnight with me so I would sleep. People picking up my kids, people walking the dog. And that was all organized on like Sign Up Genius. And there was a meal train and there was a GoFundMe and there's 5 different links floating around and their Facebook page. This allows everything to be consolidated to one and it reduces overwhelm. And
Oh,
so not only do you keep more of the money, but you reduce overwhelm for a family who's already overwhelmed. So to me, it just was a no-brainer. And so we partnered together. We collectively built Connect. It's the world's largest database that's living and breathing because we have real people on the other end reviewing these grants consistently to say, are they open? Are they closed? What's happening? And so Connect was built. We launched that together. And then in just January of 2025, December, January, I came on full time with Support Now as the director of family advocacy. So now every day I get to meet with moms like yourself
mhm.
and dads and grandmas and siblings that want to help support their family and figure out how to find grants and how to crowdsource effectively.
Yeah. And when I did set up that first meeting with you, I believe it was probably late summer of 25, I think. And I knew that we were considering a service dog. So I kind of just take action, right? And we weren't approved. We didn't even know which organization we were going through, but I set up this call and you're like, all right, what do you need help raising funds for? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, so you were amazing because you really helped me. We had a conversation and you really helped me kind of just write what our Support Now page was meant for. And it wasn't super specific because yes, we were going to need money for a service dog, but we also need money for other things too. Like
Yeah.
you were saying,
Yeah.
insurance doesn't cover so many
Yeah.
different things.
So
And
much.
yeah, and so I knew that having a place where we could share our story, where people could donate if they wanted to, was super important. And so you helped me a ton with that. You helped me even with ideas how to share our page, how to do updates, because in my head, I'm thinking, oh, an update is like where we are with the service dog journey. And
Yeah.
do we need medical equipment? But an update is not always that. It's not always a big
Yeah.
stuff.
There's
So,
actually a really proven method that I've developed over time of working with thousands of families that actually makes a big difference when how you launch. A lot of people think it's just using a page, but it's so much more than that. It's doing it right, sharing it right, especially when it's not emergent, right? When you have an emergency, that's different. Just get the page out. Let's just get it out. Everybody wants to know what's happening. But when you have a child with a disability that has a specific need, and there's no emergency except in your heart,
yeah.
then like doing it well so everybody can feel that and see that really truly matters because
Mhm.
you have to relate that to them. You have to help them understand to sit in your shoes. And I really think that's where updates and sharing your whole journey can really play a big part.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've had some friends who've been raising money for a service dog or like an intensive physical therapy. And I've learned so much from you and just from being on this journey because from late summer of last year
Mhm.
through probably the end of 25. So what, like 6 months or so, we raised $34,000.
Yeah, you
So
were really successful.
right? And
Yeah.
I'm not going to take up a ton of time on our conversation right now, but I learned so much just from going through that process. And I have so many tips to share
Yeah.
to different families, but my number one thing is always you need to talk to Abby and you need to set up a support now page because I've seen some of these moms just post whatever platform saying we need help, we need money. And
Mhm. It
that's
doesn't feel good. It
not,
doesn't feel good
no.
for the family. Usually, the family's on the other end going, I don't want to do this. It feels uncomfortable, but I have to. So I kind of do it. And then I kind of turn my head away, like
Yeah,
hoping
right.
it works out. There's a way to do it with dignity.
Mhm.
And that's what I have personally done, with my son. So, um, yeah, I think you're doing a great job. You're a great testament. I mean, people can talk to you too. Like they can tell, you do know the tips and you do know how to do it now. And so that's the beauty of like embracing the process that, you've been like seen the process and then you've actually tangibly done it. I think there's something that comes with when somebody's actually been there. There's just a level of knowledge that you cannot teach. I can
Oh,
tell somebody this is how you do it, but unless you can hear the mom on the other end when they have the hesitation or they have the pushback or the concern or the question, and you don't know if you don't know if you've never been there, you don't know how to answer it.
oh yeah,
And so you've
exactly.
actually been there.
Yeah, we another part of our fundraising journey was we set up a shoe drive and we went through funds to orgs and we had a huge success with that. We we were able to collect almost 8,000 pairs of shoes.
I was wondering how many it was.
Oh my word. I had three storage units. Um,
Wow.
It was, and so many amazing people, and it connected us to probably thousands of people.
That is
And
amazing.
yeah, it was the whole part was great. And having gone through it, I can say I have a friend that's doing a shoe drive right now as well, and she worked with you too. And I can tell her, like, hey, your draft of whatever, this flyer that you want to put on boxes to collect shoes is good, but nobody is going to read this really long, like flyer. People are looking and walking by or whatever. So, just like giving little tips,
Yeah.
like I learned my first flyer, way too much info. I
Mhm.
learned my first few support now updates, way too much info.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's just a little example, but
Yeah.
just going
And
through the
that's
process.
where, yeah, that's where when I'm sitting with somebody when we're doing description, we use bold words for easy skimming. Like we'll draw the eyes to what they need to know because people don't have time. Like they do have time. We just think differently. We have social media, we have things in our brains all the time, and we're very fast when we consume now.
Oh my
And
word.
so it's like,
Yeah.
show me what I need to know because I got something else to go to. So, and people want to help, right? Like they want to
Oh
help,
yeah.
but they don't have the time to really delve. So like that's where consistent small updates, and you can do long updates, great, but they can be very cathartic. But on occasion, just here's the day at the park.
Mhm.
Thanks for checking in. It
Yeah.
can it can carry a lot.
Yeah. And people really care.
Yeah.
When we were doing the shoe drive, I did have media coverage multiple times because I literally posted on social media, hey, does anyone know anyone that can do a news segment on us? And people did,
Fair enough.
And
Yeah.
we connected with people we never would have connected with. I actually got a phone call from a mom who has an older daughter that is disabled and she's not able to leave the house. She's not
Mm.
able to do much right now. And so her mom wasn't going to come to our shoe drop off event, but she called me and we had this amazing conversation. I met up with her husband. He gave Renna a ton of clothes, like brand new with tags on that their daughter never was able to wear. And so, like, we've been blessed by total strangers,
Hmm.
and she's been waiting for a sweet little girl to be able to utilize
Wow,
these things her daughter couldn't.
that's great.
And so, honestly, it all started with our support now page
Yeah, that's
because
great.
I kept just everything I did, I would think, okay, I want to share in a story. I want people to know and love and support her. And I want to bring it back to our page. So there's one, like you were saying, this one place where
Hmm.
everything lives. And I don't know, I just really feel like everybody should use this
Every family with
platform.
a diagnosis or disability for sure. Everybody
Oh,
should know
yeah,
because listen, disability is the only minority anybody can join at any time. Like
exactly.
people might not feel connected to it, but when it comes to life, there's a good chance you or someone you love will be. And so let's stop turning our heads. Let's start recognizing that there's a need for these families and that we can do something by just like even I give, right? Like I give all the time to pages because it's $20. It's $20. Like I can sacrifice $10. I can sacrifice $10.
Exactly.
What I can't do is constantly just be like, well, it doesn't affect me, but it might. It
Oh, yeah.
might. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, helping a family, having these pages, doing drives, being successful, those things are we need more people talking about it. And it's exactly what you're doing at Renna's Corner. So thank
Yeah.
you.
And you know what? I honestly doubted. So we ended up going with Four Paws for Ability for
Hmm.
Renna's service dog. And I had gotten a fundraising, it was like Canva fundraising, like 30, 40 pages. And I'm looking through it and I love this sort of stuff. And I'm looking and it's saying have raised $20,000 for their service dog in as little as 3 months. Usually
Hmm.
the average is six, and maybe my time frame is a little off, but it was super short. And I was like, what? How am I going to raise $20,000 in like that short a time? And I literally doubted it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do, and I'm just gonna share. And obviously, some things didn't work. Some things
Hmm.
did work. And kind of going back to your point about there's going to be somebody who is affected by a disability, even if they're not
Yeah.
currently. And I was a mystery reader at my daughter's elementary school. And so I read a book about disabilities to kindergartners, which in itself was very interesting. But part of the book talks about how sometimes you can't see a disability,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's a temporary disability, and things like that. And I actually had Renna with me, and she does not, sorry, my dog wouldn't leave me alone, so he's on my lap. But she won't hold still. She gets super excited and she's screaming the whole time we're reading this book, and she wants to be like up in my face and all over the kids. And I'm like, all right, we're reading a book, right? So they clearly see
Yeah.
what disability can look like. But part of the book was me saying, do you know anyone else that has disabilities? And a little kid was like, Renna. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, Renna does. But somebody shared about somebody in their family that fell and
Hmm.
they're currently in a wheelchair. So when you were
Yeah.
saying that, I'm like, yes,
Yeah. Yeah. It happens. It can happen overnight. I mean, it has. So that was our story. So
exactly.
you never know when everything can shift. And so
Yeah,
having an empathetic heart and being willing to step out and support could be something that is very impactful for someone else.
yeah, no, I totally agree. So we're coming down to our last few minutes.
Hmm.
Um, I will definitely share more about how people can find you, and I will make sure that I have all the things somewhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But is there anything that we didn't talk about that you think would help a family? Um, I feel like I talked to so many different families, and so many
Yeah.
different parts of their journey. But just something that you think would really be a helpful thing that maybe people don't know about.
Um, I mean, if they don't know about Connect, the grants database, that's a life changer. If they don't follow me on Instagram, I encourage them to because I put out new information there all the time. Sometimes, sometimes it's not relevant to Connect. It's more like things that I hear in the news, so, political stuff that's happening that we need to be aware of. Not polarizing political, but like just issues that we need to be aware of so that we can make educated voting decisions. And then, yeah, I mean, honestly. The only thing I think of that might help someone is don't, if you've never fundraised before because you have a stigma with it and you need resources, even if you're well off, because it's 10 times the amount to raise a child with a disability or diagnosis. Um, don't don't say no. Can talk to me first. Talk to my team first. Talk to support now because there's a way to do it with dignity that allows your community to be a part of your journey. And so to me, that is really important. It not only opens up for money, right? Like, yes, there's a goal for money, but now, like for example, my whole community knows my son. His accident was when he was 18 months, so it wasn't like he was like social and then, like all like I mean, so he was social, but like it wasn't like he was in school and had all this like network of people and then his accident happened. People knew him growing up with a disability. And because he's a part of our community, because he is talked about on social media from myself, because he goes to school, he's treated just like anybody else. And sometimes people hesitate because they don't want to share their story, and that's totally fine. I respect that. But if it's just out of fear about what somebody might think or say or judge, I have had the exact opposite. People, a lot of moms, especially with disability, children that have disability, they withdraw because they don't know how to explain, they don't know how to share. And then people withdraw, their friends withdraw because they don't know what's appropriate. They don't want to ask, they don't want to intrude. But when you open this door, and crowdsourcing can be one of them, where you have this conversation about what's going on in your life, it opens people are like, oh, it's okay for me to ask, or it's okay for me to encourage or to invite because they said so in the post, in the update, in the share. So, and people want to cheer your kid on. They just want to know it's okay with you.
Mhm.
So, don't hesitate to consider crowdsourcing, is what I would say.
I love that so much because somebody said, "Why are you asking for money?" And I'm like, it's not about the money. It is about people finding something that they want to support.
Yeah.
A person, a sweet little child
Yeah.
that they want to help, they want to
Yeah.
support. And really, I feel like the heart of what I do is I want Renna to be known and loved and accepted. And I want that for everyone's child. And you're right, it can be isolating and
Yeah.
lonely. And it has helped me so much just sharing her story, even before all of this fundraising I did and the
Hmm.
media coverage that we've received. Just sharing her journey on Instagram has helped
Yeah.
me so much. And it's not about, oh, who liked it
Yeah.
and whatever. I go back and I watch these videos I've posted and I'm like, oh my word, I didn't even notice that she was asking for more on the trampoline or whatever. And
Yeah.
people have
Yeah.
come to me so many times and said,
Yeah.
my child was just diagnosed with Pitt-Hopkins syndrome. I
Mhm.
saw that your daughter has it and you've given me hope, you know?
Yeah. Who
And
doesn't
it's
want to champion a kid's progress? Like,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us.
Yeah.
And I hope that our followers take your advice and reach out.
Sounds great. I can't wait.
Thanks.